What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, okay? It is the second day of August today. Here we are with about 11 and a half hours left in the day, sitting here at 113.7K. Looking like we are still in that in-between phase of are we going lower or is this the low, right, kind of dilemma. I think that we have found the low. I think that this is the low. And the main reason for that is, we take this low here, we take that low there, we connect the dots, and we have broken below that trend line. But back testing it for resistance and not breaking through it, that's not necessarily encouraging, right? We could definitely see lower prices take place. I, for one, am not under the opinion that we will go below this high at all. But could we go below this low? Sure. So that's a very, very small area that we could see Bitcoin, go to if it were to go lower. It's a very, very small range of potential price action. I really don't anticipate that we would go below this low. And again, just touching back on this idea here, that here let's just run it back, right? Let's run back this idea that we need to back test prior areas of resistance for support. Typically that's nice to see. But when Bitcoin's in full rally mode, it doesn't do that. It really doesn't do that. If you've got resistance here, did you back test that for support? Yes, you did actually. You didn't touch it, but yes, you did. You backed that. That's exactly what that is. It's front running, is what that is, right? There's so much buying pressure here that you actually couldn't, or not enough selling pressure. Either way, you just couldn't get down there, and then you had a massive reverberation to the upside, right? Same thing back, over here. I mean, we didn't back test this for prior resistance. We didn't back test this for prior resistance. We didn't. I guess whenever we moved up here, we did back test all this. Whenever we found our low over here, and we go back all the way, right, a pretty significant low of a pretty significant range, we did not touch this area of resistance, but we got pretty damn close, right? We stopped in areas that don't really make sense to stop. It'd make more sense to go lower, but at the same time, if there's high demand for something, this is the exact reaction you get. We've gotten that at least 2 out of the last 3 significant drops, and this is the third one. So I would think, and then also, along the way here, whenever we moved up, we found support here at prior resistance, but here we did not. Here we did not. We just kept moving up every single step of the way, you know what I mean? Like here, whenever we found support right here, it would have made sense to go just a little bit lower, but we didn't, right? Here, technically, whenever we found support here, I guess you could say that we found support at prior resistance, but I would have looked at that as the resistance point to touch back on. But whatever, tomato, tomato, potato, whatever. I just don't think that we have to go lower. That's the if anybody's holding out thinking that we have to go below 112K, we have to go below 110K because we have to back test this resistance, I think you're too rigid. You're too rigid in this game, and that's okay. It's okay. So, sometimes we hold to these rules with rigidity, and that helps us. Right? But sometimes it also gets in the way, and that's just in this instance, I think that will get in the way. But maybe not. Let's look at the short-term stuff and see if we can divulge some information and see if we are going lower. In fact, let's just look. 1 hour time frame here. Okay, we've got them all. Okay, so the MACD, the MACD double bottom is nice to see right there, right? We've had a triple bottom before, and it didn't amount to much, but we did get some growth at least. But double bottom here, come on. Double bottom here is nice. Let's see if we've got any other examples of this. Kind of have a double bottom here, and we did move up. That was actually right before we started moving up, right? But we had our double bottom, and that first low was the low. I don't know if it's the same circumstances here personally. Looking at the stochastics make me bullish because I would assume that we continue to go into the overbought zone and that we don't reject from it. But right now it does look as though we could be rejecting. Let's see. We need this 1 hour time frame to close green. And we're only down 0.5%. We're down 5% right now. $58. So all we have to do is move up $58 or more in the next 20 minutes. If we can do that, this won't be rejecting off the overbought zone. We need the stochastics to get into the overbought zone. Okay, that's what we need. We don't want to reject, because if we do, well, the last time we did that, we did go lower, right? And I think that we could go lower still. Again, does that mean that we go lower than this low? No, but lower from here. And the lower that we go, the more in jeopardy we are of taking out this low. And if we take out that low, it's really not even that big of a deal though, but from a high to a low, I would anticipate what, 111.9K, 112.3K, probably not 111.9K. Let's look at what we did last time with this relative fib here from a low to a high. You went right to your golden ratio and a little bit through that. You're looking productive though. I like this look, right? Finding support at the golden ratio coming up, finding support at the 1272. I would think you go higher, mainly because if you were to reject down, I think you would have done it already, but maybe we're about to. Maybe, maybe we're about to. We're still in that threshold of when it could happen. Let's go to another fib here real quick. Let's take this one. Low to high, tipping the 1414, finding support at the 1272. I mean, it looks constructive. It looks deconstructive overall, but just momentarily it does look constructive. Here, this is the one fib that would make me think that we go lower. I don't know though. I don't know if I'm convinced of that yet, because typically if you were to find resistance here at the 1618, you would just go down. You wouldn't come back up and then come back up. I don't know. Maybe you do break through. What we want to see to validate this as a low. Let's look at that. Let's see what would validate this as a low. Well, I think what would validate it as a low is getting back into this range. Not just getting back into it, but closing a 4-hour time frame or a higher time frame into this range would do that. I guess we already did. We already did do that. So we need more than that then. Okay, let's maybe connect the dots on the closing bases. Let's do that. How about that? If we close above, let's take this area. We got 3 hours left in this 4-hour candle, so we'll take that, and then we'll take the coming 4 hours too, right? Something like that. If we can close above about, what price is that? 114.4, and then as time goes on, it'd be 114.2K. So something, let's just say 114.4K. If we can close above there on any 4-hour period, I'd be convinced that we found our low. And if this is not our low, we go down here and then we come up, then same thing, it's our low. You know what I mean? And maybe we go a little bit lower. It's okay if we do. Looking at it now, 113.6K coming down. It is possible. What I will say with these 4-hour candles is that typically you don't get a, let's just look at all these red candles. Typically you don't just get a straight body down. I'm trying to find one, right? Here's one where there's no wick to the upside, right? Very small wick to the upside, very small wick to the upside here. Most of the time there's some sort of pronounced wick to the upside, and here we don't have that. Again, not saying that it can't happen, and it hasn't happened for a second, it seems. So, I guess we had a very small wick there, so maybe not. But not saying that it can happen, but just because we've moved down here without a wick, we moved down so immediately, abruptly at the beginning of this 4-hour candle, to me, it's this like superstitious belief that maybe we do actually come up, and what we're doing is setting up for a green candle where we have a wick to the downside. Because a lot of these green candles too, they have wicks to the downside. But and I guess it's actually more common on the green side to have no wicks to the downside, which I don't really like that normally. That throws me off. But that's okay. 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame here. We are rejecting the oversold zone. We have done that already with the last 4-hour candle, rejecting it there. So rejecting, coming into the oversold zone, coming up to the oversold zone and rejecting it is normally not good. We did that exact thing right here, and look at what it promoted. It promoted another, what is that? That's 1.7% to the downside. It promoted another 1.7% to the downside. So, we came down, we came up, rejected the oversold zone on the RSI right here, and then we saw a nice drop of about, let's see, 115.7K down to 112.7K. That was a $3,000 drop. If we drop $3,000 from here, you guys, that's all the way down at 110K. I wouldn't compare it in that same kind of context. I don't think that we would see that same drop. Maybe it's a bigger drop. Maybe it's a lesser drop. It's hard to say. But I do think that we'd be set up to some degree for some bullish divergence if we did close below this low. Now, we could close below this low here on a closing basis at about 113.3K. We could close below that and still not take out this low, or barely take out this low, right? We could close below this here, find a higher low or a slightly lower low or a double bottom exactly, and then get some bullish divergence on the 4-hour and turn around, get some bullish divergence on the MACD and on the stochastics and then turn around. We don't need bullish divergence. Don't get stuck in this we need to see this kind of thing, right? Like, we don't need to back test the prior areas of resistance for support. We don't need to find bullish divergence, but it helps. It helps whenever you see those things because it gives you more confidence and it gives other investors more confidence too. And confidence is great, but FOMO is a hell of a thing, man. And whenever you're supposed to, quote unquote, go to a certain area, right? Whenever you're supposed to find support at prior resistance and you just don't do it, that causes a lot of FOMO, and then that FOMO sends the price through the roof. Speaking of what causes the price to go through the roof, we've got a lot of liquidations to go through. Oh, we're on the XRP chart. We want the Bitcoin chart. There are a lot of shorts, $3.4 billion worth of shorts that have gotten piled on in the past day, $2.5 billion worth of longs, and a lot of those longs get cleared out at 111.2K. Well, I mean, a lot of them really get cleared out at about 112K there, $1.25 billion worth. But as far as shorts go, there's a lot more to the upside there. And then also, if we're looking at this on a 30-day period over the last month, the shorts eclipsed the longs as of yesterday's price action. So there is still a solid wall there. Again, down at just below 112K, we'd clear out this like first wave right here and really decimate the longs entirely. But there are a lot of shorts along the way. I mean, like from here to there, there's about $2 billion worth of longs, $2.5 billion worth of longs, let's say, at $112,000 or just below there. But we've got, you know, I mean, to the same effect, $2.5 billion at 117K, which is a little bit further away from here. And then we've also got, you know, a dramatically larger amount of shorts to liquidate. Once we get to 120, is it 123? 124K, we've got $16 billion worth of longs, or sorry, shorts to liquidate as well. So there is some incentive, let's say, to see the price go to the upside. And maybe we do, maybe we don't. I want to look at the 15-minute time frame real quick, see if this can help. You know, I would think that if we were to move up that we would have done it already. Speaking of finding prior support at prior resistance or vice versa, you know, we did find resistance here at prior support, and that's not necessarily a good look in itself. 15-minute time frame is not the most significant. RSI is neutral at the moment, not bearish. So are the stochastics, and the MACD kind of looks like it wants to rip above the zero, kind of. But you did find resistance at the zero. I'm not getting enough off the 15-minute time frame. It's because it's moving sideways. You know, you could be getting set up for some kind of double bottom. You really could. I like these little like U-shaped double bottom things here. Let's look at the 4-hour time frame again, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. Okay. So the one thing that stands out to me the most and makes me think that we absolutely could go a little bit lower. Okay. At least lower than here, not necessarily lower than this low, but lower than this closing price. The one thing that stands out to me is this rejection off the oversold zone. That's the one thing that stands out to me. If we were to go lower, I think that this, on the 4-hour time frame, that we just closed this last 4-hour time frame to the red, which validates that this is a rejection. That's the one thing that really stands out to me, and it makes me think that we could go lower. The stochastics, same thing. You know, you could be rejecting here. Actually, on the 1-hour RSI as well, right? We've got that rejection off the overbought zone. So there's a couple things lining up to the idea that we do go lower. MACD, you know, is bearish. Obviously, definitely is. We just crossed through the zero or rejected the zero, however you want to look at that. This 1-hour time frame is down about $211. So if 202, 199, keep going. So if this 1 hour, by the time you guys watch it, because I'm going to end this video here soon, in the next 11 minutes, if this 1-hour time frame here, the 12th hour of the day, closes green, I would take that as a consideration that we are moving up higher. Why? Because then you won't be rejecting your overbought zone on the stochastics. Then your candle won't be red, it'll be green, and then this rejection off the RSI on the oversold zone might actually not be a rejection at all. It could be something like, I don't know, can we find an example of it? Something like this, right? Where it's kind of a farce. Inevitably, you did go lower, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go lower afterwards. But this 1 hour, as insignificant as it might seem to watch for a 1-hour close, I think, you know, I could spend the next 10 minutes in this video just watching this close, but I got to make other videos, guys. But I think that this will be telling. If it closes red, I would say then that I anticipate lower prices than 113.3K, lower than 113.3. If we see a green close, then probably not, and we probably have our low. It's that simple. I think that will be a big enough signal in itself, but it all depends on what happens afterwards, right? We got to get above 114.2K on a 4-hour closing basis. If not, if we were to go lower, the intended areas that we would have below, let's just go over that real quick. I'm going to take the first low to high here. I would think, and Bitcoin loves to do this with its 1618, it loves to go just below its 1618. So 112.6K, I would think that we go just below there. A lot of people, I think, are expecting that we'd go below 112K. I think that we would find support above 112K, probably around 112 and a half. Okay, what would that be? 112.4. And 112.4K, I mean, that takes out most of this wall. Maybe in that regard, we do go to 112K. It's hard to say. Don't let the liquidation map guide you. It can guide you to a certain degree, but it can also throw you off, let's say. It can throw you off. We got very near. We were like right up against this wall yesterday, and here we are, pushing back the other direction, right? If you were waiting to buy that low, you very well could have missed the low here. But time will tell. I've got nothing else for you. That's my expectation. I don't believe that we would go lower. If we are to go lower, I mean, there are lower targets. Let's talk about the targets I don't believe in, but still, they're there. 111.2K, 110.7K, very possible target destinations. Could we go lower? Sure, we could. I just don't think that we do. But 112.6K is the area that I personally think, and probably just below there, 112.4K is the area that I personally think that will find support. If we are to go lower, and that really does, I think, depend on this next 8 minutes actually. So look at the clock, see what it is, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.